Welcome to the college football preview show of the Coach and Crew show. We are going to go into about 8 to 9 different segments. The first segment we're going to preview through the 2021 season is the quarterbacks, and we're only going to handle them the top of the top and who we think are going to be the best of the best. And I can tell you right now, we're going to leave some names off of some people that you are going to disagree with and say this person needs to be on this list, this watch list. Well, you know what? Great. We hope so. And then you can comment on the comments, please, and say who was the best left off. But we're going to go through, as this is our list. It's a consensus list of who we think are going to have level 1A performances for the 2021 season, specifically at the quarterback position. So we're going to share my screen. And let's see if I can do this correctly.
So while you're doing that, I know Luke Krause has already put in his vote for Malik Willis as number 1 QB.
Yes, I have. Not number 1, but top 4 for sure.
So with that said, we're going to do these in alphabetical order. So there's no priority given. Like, this is our number 1 person, even though I will share that towards the end. It was one of the names suggested was JT Daniels, quarterback of Georgia. Last year, he had a 178 passer rating. He averaged over 300 yards passing a game, threw 10 touchdowns in just 4 starts, and is the 6th rated highest returner for this year. Phil, I know he was on your list. Do you want to take it from here?
I'll preface this by saying I hate Georgia. UGA, I can't say anything good about them, but it pains me to say they're going to be this year's national champions for NCAA D1 playoffs. It's going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. JT Daniels is going to be the starting quarterback for that team. I've already put down my wager on them winning the national championship and the over-under for wins. Daniels is just going to lead it. He started 4 games last year, went 4-0, and absolutely dominated. He's going to be on a top team, and he's going to kill it.
I'm right there with you. I think the game of the year in the SEC officially won't happen until December, but it's probably going to be a shootout between Alabama and Georgia. And Phil, you might be right about where it goes from there.
All I can do is back that up.
Second person on the list, I contributed to this name, Dillon Gabriel of UCF. He's the returning American Player of the Year. He led the conference in all passing categories. He had over 30 TD passes, and he's about the 4th highest rated returner left. Yes, there's some Gus Malzahn now coming his way. I don't know if that's going to even make it bigger or better or make it less and worse, because we all know what happens when Bo Nix scrambled right and threw for that 3-yard pass on 3rd and 13. But
can you really give that your vote of confidence?
But there's something about Dillon Gabriel that I like a lot, and I think he's going to put up some high-level numbers this year as well. And I think he won't win National Player of the Year. He's not going to be a first-team All-American, but his numbers are going to speak high volumes. And I think UCF is going to find themselves playing in December for an American championship because of Dillon Gabriel.
Well, Dillon Gabriel, he is a top talent in college football. He only had 4 interceptions last year. He can play ball. Unfortunately for him, he's got a coach who I happen to like, Malzahn, that offense does not fit what Gabriel does good. So I think it's a poor fit, square peg, round hole. And unfortunately for Mr. Gabriel, it's going to cost him some draft spots when he goes to the pros.
Next on the list, this is one of our 2 consensus. Every one of us had Sam Howell of North Carolina. I'll just read off the stats, and then I'll let y'all go from there, and I'll keep quiet on this one. He led the ACC in most passing categories last season, and that included against Trevor Lawrence. He had a passer rating of 179.09. He threw for 30 TDs and over 3,500 yards. He's the 3rd highest rated returner on PFF.
Yeah, I mean, if Clemson wasn't in the ACC, I would have Sam Howell, North Carolina, in the college football playoff this year. Plain and simple. I really do think they are a contender for the college football playoff through his leadership, and I have a lot of faith in Sam Howell. He can possibly be the number 1 overall pick this year.
He was the number 1
especially going
quarterback in
against
the
ACC
ACC.
defenses.
The dude outperformed Trevor Lawrence last year in every category, including quarterback rating system. And here's the key stat: Sam Howell was sacked 33 times as opposed to Trevor Lawrence being sacked 15. Trevor Lawrence had an NFL offensive line in front of him when Sam Howell had nothing but a high school team in front of him. And he still had better numbers than Trevor Lawrence. The guy's the best quarterback in the ACC, hands down.
Byron, what were you saying?
Oh, I said Andy gets to go against ACC defenses despite the SEC doing their best effort to be in that category last year. But he's got the best deep ball possibly in football.
Yeah, I think him and Dylan Gabriel are top 2 for deep balls. Next on our list, Grayson Mccall from Coastal Carolina. He was the Sun Belt Player of the Year. He was the 5th highest rated on PFF. He's the 2nd highest rated returner. He had a passer rating of over 184, and he had over 3,000 yards combined offense with 33 combined turnovers.
Touchdowns.
I'm sorry, touchdowns.
No, he only had 3 picks. But Grayson Mccall went to the Peyton Manning Academy of quarterbacks this past fall. Only where he can go out to do, and that is up. And I know that statement could not be wrong, but a year to settle in, a year to make a name. Now this is for people to prove that he is still one of the top dogs. And into a team with I hate to admit it, but a very easy schedule. He can just dominate and be the kid in Madden where you put the 99s for your creative player on 100 and go against all the easy teams. That's what Grayson Mccall is going to do this year in the Sun Belt.
The one thing I think that's going to hurt him is his schedule. He might not see many fourth quarters.
I agree.
Next up.
Plus, he's already been to the Shane Falco School of Heart. He's got miles and miles of heart. So,
nice reference there. Next is Brock Purdy of Iowa State. He was the 2nd in the Big 12 in yards and efficiency. He had over 3,000 combined yards, and this is on a Fiesta Bowl winning team, and threw for 24 total, or combined for 24 total touchdowns.
I think he's going to lead Iowa State to the Big 12 championship this year. I really do. A lot of that's through Breece Hall taking the pressure off of Brock, but I think Brock's going to make the chances that he gets when the ball is not on him, and he's going to make the most out of this team, and they are going to win the Big 12 through his leadership.
No way, dude. The next guy's going to win the Big 12 championship. Already got money on it.
Oh, I don't doubt it, but I can see this happening.
Can't have both of them Big 12 championships or whatever in the hell they are. Look.
Yeah, there's only one, and I'm looking at the Heisman front runner right now with a real team that they're talking about that's been to the college football playoff, not Iowa State, who won't finish ahead of Texas. You heard it here first.
With that said, the second consensus on our list was this man right here, the Heisman front runner, Spencer Rattler of Oklahoma. He led the Big 12 in all categories from PFF in 2020. He's the highest rated returner. He had a 92.5 rating, passed for over 3,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. And even though it's not released yet, but my early leader of who I'm going to put as my preseason number 1 overall is Oklahoma.
The dude got better every week. He started out horrible last season, and he was so good at the end of the season, he could have given anyone a run for their money. He was that good. And if he just continues on that path coming this year, I don't know how anyone's going to take the Heisman from him.
Byron, anything to add?
Oh, agreed. Sky's the limit. Heisman front runner.
All right, I put this one on there, but please feel welcome to interject as well. Keaton Slovis of USC. I know the Pac-12 is the Pac-12. I know they only played a partial schedule last year, but he's the real deal. I expect him to have a 4,000-yard, 40 touchdown pass season. He scored 17 TDs in 6 games last year and averaged over 320 yards of offense, and that's with no practices. And okay, hey, listen, I can throw it to you, but you have to pretend like you're catching it because we're not even allowed to be in the same zip code together. So now that they can actually get things working, he's got a chance to be finishing on. If all Americans go top 4, he's got a chance to finish top 4. And if things break well for USC, you could see USC and the college football playoff this season. And Slovis is the reason why.
So he beat who Phil put the money on to win the national championship, JT Daniels, out as a freshman at USC 2 years ago. This is now his
JT Daniels. He had a torn ACL, dude. It's kind of hard to compete for a starting job
he beat
with
him
a
out.
torn ACL.
After the ACL injury, he beat him out, and Daniels transferred.
Daniels still was out, dude. I mean, he had not recovered. It takes a year to recover from. It's not a fair comparison for Daniels. Daniels had a torn ACL. He could barely walk. He wasn't cleared to even practice. And that's why he transferred, because they gave it to Slovis. Slovis is a great talent. And there's only one conference that plays, Big 5 conference, that plays worse defense than the Big 12, and that's the Pac-12.
I thought you
so
were
he's in the right place. It's the right man in the right place at the right time. Slovis, it's his year in the Pac-12.
All right, next, this one it wasn't a
you want me to say it? Ukulele?
Yeah, ukulele. It was not a consensus, but I'm actually surprised it was not a consensus. DJ Ukulele from Clemson. Yes, he is pretty much being a brand new starter, but in his one true spot start against Notre Dame, he was the man. 29 of 44, 439 with 2 touchdowns.
And that's what you got, as a guy who's already got the big game experience, just stepping right into where he's already felt comfortable. And, oh, by the way, Clemson's been there, done that. They got one of the best rosters in the nation. He's going to have help around him. So I think this kid's going to come in and succeed. And, again, it's a program where they just got these top recruits coming in, and now it's time for him to show off.
No one that Clemson puts behind center or does anything finishes poorly. That's just one heck of a program.
I mean, worst case scenario, he's going to finish top 5. I think we all
right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, talking about fourth quarters might be sitting.
Yeah.
Clemson leaves their QB in the entire game. They don't pull them. They'll pull all the other players, but the QB's got to stay out there and run the show.
Next, we have Malik Willis from Byron's neck of the woods and Liberty Bibberty. He had over 3,100 yards of combined offense last year. He combined for 34 touchdowns, and he was the 7th highest rated quarterback returning for the 2021 season.
This guy has a cannon for an arm. If Hugh Freeze can lower his mistakes, yes, his scrambling is phenomenal, and it tore up some teams, one that I do not want to mention. But
would you call him a dual threat, Luke?
Yeah, I am calling him dual threat. If he can stop rushing out of the pocket, settle down, relax, he's going to go off. And he's going to be arguably one of the top contenders for the Heisman this year. I truly believe that. I don't think he's going to win it, but I think he's going to be a top contender for it. And he is so athletic. I see a young Lamar Jackson on this guy. Cannon for an arm. Just got to put the accuracy down. Got to get him relaxed in the pocket, and he is there, and it's guaranteed All-American if those two things can happen.
Playing off that, Luke, I'll be interested to see how some of the Coastals, Liberties, UCFs, Heisman runners do against the Oklahomas, USCs, and maybe even Alabamas of the world, just as a conference comparison as we're seeing the playoff expand. Like, what kind of level of respect are they actually getting from the Heisman vote?
Well, real quick on Malik Willis and Liberty. Byron, circle this date for your calendar. November 20th in your backyard, Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns with Levi Lewis and that top 15 team, probably top 25 at worst team, goes to Liberty. That might be something right around your neighborhood. for a big game of the week that's going to fly under the radar. All right.
Well, then for all the Crew Nation, we'll have a booth set up at the event. Y'all come on out.
Last on the list, and I'm not surprised he wasn't on the consensus list, but it doesn't shock me one bit that he also made the top 10 list, even though he's played in really zero meaningful snaps so far going into his first start, is Bryce Young of Alabama. He's a 5-star prospect. He's the highest rated dual threat quarterback. It's Alabama. Their floor is higher than most teams' ceilings. Worst case, you're figuring if they have a horrible and bring out the pitchfork season on Nick Saban, that's still 9 wins at extreme worst. Extreme worst.
Yeah, he's going to sneeze and have 20 touchdowns. Like the only thing that's going to take away from his stats is if they're running the ball out on people. But I mean, you look at the guys who came behind him between Hurts and Tua. I mean, he's got, and now Mac. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of NFL prospects. He's just next in line, in my opinion. That's why I put him in there. It's because, again, he's about to show off on national stage.
I think they're going to put the brakes on him a little bit, and he's going to be a game manager for the first half of the season. They might turn him loose at the end. So I think that his numbers will be more respectable, but they're still going to win 10 games this year, maybe 12.
Alabama manages games, they put up 60.
There's no doubt about that. But, you know, the quarterback doesn't throw for 400, though. The quarterback throws for 200, and then they have 2 running backs run for 200 each.
I'll say those screen yards add up, though.
That little crossing pattern that's 1 yard past the line of scrimmage that goes for 75 counts.
So there we have it. That is our top 10. Well, not top 10. That is our 10, combined 10 of who we think are going to be some of the top performers in the 2021 for the college football season. If your quarterback did not make the list and you feel that they are at equal or better than any of the 10 listed, comment in our section below and share who you think is in the 10. We have some names that are honorable mention. My number 1 honorable mention was Matt Corral from USC. Phil, you're on my screen. Who was your number 1 most honorable mention that didn't make the list?
The kid from Louisville. And then the kid from King from Miami.
Malik Cunningham and Derek King. Byron, your honorable mention.
Special shout out to Michael Penix. Indiana quarterback, set a record for most pass yards under duress last year. Heck of a ball player, but I believe had ACL surgery. So any guy coming off injury, just like Derek King, they got left off just because of uncertainty.
Luke, who is your honorable mention?
Yeah, definitely Derek King. And then one more shout out to the group of 5, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati.
All right, people. Check us out again next week. We're going to cover the offensive line.